There comes a moment in every person's life when they quietly realize something painful. The life they are living is not the life they imagined. Maybe you have felt that moment. Maybe you have stood in front of a mirror and asked yourself, how did I get here? Why am I still waiting? Why do I know what I should do, but I keep delaying it? And the hardest truth to accept is this: your life does not change when you finally get more time. Your life does not change when the perfect opportunity arrives. Your life does not change when everyone around you finally supports you. Your life changes the moment you decide that the person you are today cannot remain the person you become tomorrow. Let me tell you something. A single day can change your direction, not because one day magically fixes everything, not because waking up tomorrow suddenly makes you successful, but because one powerful day can become the day you stop negotiating with your own potential. One day can become the day you stop making excuses. One day can become the day you finally prove to yourself that you are capable of more. Think about this for a moment. Every great transformation in human history began with a single decision. A person deciding, enough is enough. A person deciding, I will not continue living below my ability. A person deciding, my future deserves a better version of me. The world often sees success as one giant moment. They see the person who built the business. They see the athlete holding the trophy. They see the speaker standing on the stage. They see the results. But they rarely see the day when that person sat alone, looked at their circumstances, and made a decision. The decision was invisible. The decision was private. But the consequences became public. Here's what most people don't understand. Your entire future is hidden inside your daily decisions. Your habits are not just things you do. Your habits are votes. Every morning you wake up, you vote for the person you are becoming. Every choice you make is a message to your future self. When you choose discipline over comfort, you are saying, I believe my future matters. When you choose learning over entertainment, you are saying, I am investing in a person I have not become yet. When you choose action over excuses, you are saying, my dreams deserve effort. I learned something years ago. Most people do not fail because they lack ability. Most people fail because they slowly abandon themselves. They make small compromises. They delay important decisions. They accept average thinking. They allow temporary emotions to control permanent opportunities. And one day, they wake up and realize years have passed. The greatest danger in life is not failure. Failure teaches. Failure develops character. Failure reveals weaknesses. The greatest danger is becoming comfortable with a life that does not represent who you could become. Because comfort is powerful. Comfort whispers. Comfort says, you can start tomorrow. Comfort says, you are doing okay. Comfort says, maybe your dream is unrealistic. And if you listen long enough, comfort becomes a cage that looks like peace. But deep inside, you know there is more inside you. You know there are goals you have abandoned. You know there are promises you made to yourself that you have not kept. And that creates a special kind of pain. Not the pain of working hard. The pain of knowing you could have tried. The pain of looking back and wondering, what if I had started? Let me tell you something. The pain of discipline is temporary. The pain of regret can last a lifetime. The person who wakes up early, studies, exercises, builds skills, and sacrifices comfort feels pain today. But the person who avoids effort feels a different pain tomorrow. The first pain creates growth. The second pain creates regret. You must choose your pain. Every meaningful life requires sacrifice. The question is not whether you will sacrifice. The question is what you will sacrifice. Will you sacrifice comfort to create greatness? Or will you sacrifice your dreams to protect comfort? Because you cannot have both. You cannot spend your mornings chasing distractions and expect to build an extraordinary future. You cannot feed your mind with negativity every day and expect to create a powerful mindset. You cannot surround yourself with people who have no direction and expect yourself to remain focused. Your environment shapes your thinking. Your thinking shapes your actions shape your results, and your results eventually shape your life. So if you want to improve your life, you must first improve the person who is living it. This is where the one-day transformation begins, not with changing everything at once, not with creating an unrealistic plan that lasts 3 days. It begins with reclaiming one day, one intentional day, one day where you become aware, one day where you stop running on autopilot, one day where you decide that your mind, your body, your habits, and your future deserve your attention. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning and making a promise. Today, I will not waste myself. Not tomorrow, not next month, not when things become easier, today. Because today is the only place where life actually happens. Yesterday is a memory, tomorrow is a possibility, but today is your power. Think about the people who changed their lives. They did not have a different planet. They did not have extra hours. They did not receive special permission from the universe. They had the same 24 hours. The difference was they finally became intentional with those hours. A person who uses one day wisely begins creating evidence. Evidence that they can change. Evidence that they can keep promises to themselves. Evidence that they are stronger than their excuses. And confidence does not come from thinking positively. Confidence comes from keeping promises to yourself. Every time you say you will do something and you do it, you build trust with yourself. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you weaken that trust. Your relationship with yourself is the most important relationship you will ever have because you cannot escape yourself. You can change jobs. You can change cities. You can change friends. But everywhere you go, you take yourself with you. So the question becomes, are you becoming someone you respect? Are you becoming someone your future self will thank? Are you building a person who can handle the opportunities you say you want? Because success is not only about getting more, success is also about becoming more. A bigger dream requires a bigger version of you. A greater opportunity requires greater preparation. A better life requires better habits. Many people want a different result while protecting the same behaviors that created their current situation. They want financial freedom but refuse to learn new skills. They want confidence but refuse to challenge themselves. They want health but refuse to change their routines. They want success but refuse to become disciplined. And this is the truth that separates dreamers from builders. A dream without action is only a beautiful thought. A goal without discipline is only a wish. A vision without commitment is only imagination. But when a person combines vision with consistent action, something powerful happens. The impossible begins to move. The person who once doubted themselves begins to surprise themselves. The person who once felt stuck begins to create momentum. And momentum is one of the most powerful forces in life. Because success is rarely created by one massive action. It is created by small actions repeated until they become unstoppable. A person does not become successful because of one perfect day. They become successful because they create enough good days that their direction changes forever. The same way a small drop of water can eventually shape stone. The same way a small seed can become a massive tree. The same way a single decision can change the course of a human life. This is the compound effect, small choices repeated consistently, creating extraordinary results. Most people underestimate small actions because they cannot see immediate results. They read one page and think, this does not matter. They exercise one day and think, nothing changed. They save a small amount of money and think, this is too little. But life does not reward intensity alone. Life rewards consistency. A person who improves 1% every day becomes a completely different person over time. The person you become 5 years from now is being created by the choices you make today. So ask yourself, what are you creating? What are you practicing? What are you becoming? Because every day you are training yourself. The question is whether you are training yourself toward greatness or toward limitation. Your mind is like a garden. Whatever you plant, you eventually grow. Plant fear, and fear grows. Plant doubt, and doubt grows. Plant excuses, and excuses grow. But plant discipline, plant courage, plant knowledge, plant gratitude, plant belief, and something different begins to happen. Your thoughts begin changing. Your actions begin changing. Your identity begins changing. And once your identity changes, your life begins changing. Because lasting transformation does not begin with what you have. It begins with who you believe you are. A person who says, I am someone who keeps commitments, behaves differently. A person who says, I am someone who learns every day, behaves differently. A person who says, I am someone who refuses to quit, behaves differently. Your identity controls your behavior, and your behavior creates your destiny. So, today, the challenge is simple. Stop waiting for a perfect moment. Stop waiting for someone to rescue you. Stop waiting until you feel ready. The truth is, most people never feel ready. The people who achieve great things simply decide that the moment has arrived. They move while they are afraid. They begin while they are uncertain. They take the first step while they still have doubts. Because courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is moving forward while fear is present. And sometimes the first step is the hardest because you are fighting years of old programming, years of telling yourself, maybe later, years of believing, I am not ready, years of accepting less than you deserve. But the moment you act, something inside you begins to wake up. And when that part of you begins to wake up, you start seeing yourself differently. You begin to realize that maybe the biggest obstacle was never the world outside of you. Maybe the biggest obstacle was the conversation happening inside your own mind every single day. Because before a person can change their circumstances, they must change the story they tell themselves about their circumstances. Let me tell you something. Two people can face the exact same challenge and create completely different futures. One person sees difficulty and says, this is proof that I cannot. Another person sees difficulty and says, this is the opportunity where I discover what I am capable of. The situation is the same. The difference is the interpretation. The difference is the mindset. The difference is the meaning they attach to the struggle. Think about this for a moment. A seed does not become a tree because life is easy. A seed becomes a tree because it pushes through darkness. It breaks through resistance. It fights against the pressure around it. And that pressure does not destroy the seed. That pressure reveals what was inside the seed all along. Human beings are the same way. The challenges you face are not always there to stop you. Sometimes they are there to introduce you to a stronger version of yourself. The person you become in difficult seasons is often the person you need for your greatest opportunities. But most people misunderstand struggle. They think struggle means something is wrong. They think difficulty means they are on the wrong path. But every person who has built something meaningful has faced moments where quitting would have been easier. There was a moment where the business owner wondered if it would work. There was a moment where the athlete wondered if the training was worth it. There was a moment where the student wondered if the sacrifice would pay off. There was a moment where the dream felt too far away. But the difference between those who rise and those who remain stuck is not that one group never experiences doubt. Everyone experiences doubt. The difference is that one group listens to doubt and the other group listens to purpose. One group says, this is too difficult. The other says, this is difficult, but I am becoming stronger. One group searches for an easier road. The other understands that the road itself is building them. I learned something years ago. The goal is not to create a life where you never face problems. That life does not exist. The goal is to create a life where you become powerful enough to handle problems. Because life will test you. It will test your patience. It will test your discipline. It will test your commitment. It will test whether your dreams are just wishes or whether they are promises you made to yourself. And every test gives you a choice. You can become bitter or you can become better. You can complain about the mountain or you can become the person who climbs it. You can focus on everything that is against you or you can focus on everything that is still possible. The person who improves their life understands one important truth. Your attention is your most valuable resource. Where your attention goes, your energy follows. Where your energy goes, your results begin to appear. If you spend your attention on fear, comparison, excuses, and negativity, you are giving your power away. But if you invest your attention into learning, improving, creating, and growing, you are building yourself. Your life is constantly being shaped by what you give your focus to. Look at the modern world. Every day, there are thousands of distractions fighting for your mind. People are becoming rich by capturing your attention. Companies understand that your focus is powerful. But many people give away their focus without realizing they are giving away pieces of their future. They wake up and immediately consume. They consume opinions. They consume negativity. They consume other people's lives. And then they wonder why they feel disconnected from their own purpose. You cannot build your own dream while spending all your energy watching someone else's journey. You cannot create your future while constantly escaping your present. At some point, you have to become the person who takes control. The person who says, my mind belongs to me. My time belongs to me. My choices belong to me. That is where real freedom begins. Not when you have everything you want, but when you realize you have the power to influence where your life goes. Because responsibility is not a burden. Responsibility is power. Many people hear the word responsibility and think it means blame, but responsibility means something much greater. It means you are not powerless. It means your next decision matters. It means your future is not completely controlled by your past. Your past may explain where you started, but it does not have to decide where you finish. There are people who started with nothing and built something incredible. There are people who failed repeatedly and still found success. There are people who were told they were not talented enough, not educated enough, not connected enough, not experienced enough, but they had something more powerful than perfect circumstances. They had determination. They had the willingness to learn. They had the courage to begin because success is not reserved for the person who has the best beginning. Success often belongs to the person who refuses to stop improving. Think about an ordinary person who decides one morning that they are tired of repeating the same year over and over again. They wake up earlier. They spend 30 minutes reading. They start taking care of their body. They stop wasting hours on things that do not move them forward. They learn a valuable skill. They surround themselves with better influences. At first, nobody notices. Their friends may not understand. Their family may wonder why they are changing. The results may not come immediately. But something important is happening beneath the surface. They are rebuilding themselves. And before the world sees the transformation, the person feels it internally. They feel their confidence returning. They feel their discipline growing. They feel their self-respect increasing. And that is something money cannot buy. Self-respect comes from knowing you are becoming someone you can trust. There is a special feeling when you look back and say, I remember when I almost gave up, but I kept going. That moment creates a different kind of confidence. Not the confidence that comes from pretending everything is perfect. The confidence that comes from surviving challenges. The confidence that comes from keeping promises when nobody was watching. The confidence that comes from choosing growth when comfort was available. Let me ask you something. What would happen if you gave yourself one full day of complete commitment? One day where you stopped making excuses. One day where you treated your future like it was your greatest responsibility. One day where you controlled your thoughts, your actions, your habits, and your environment. Would one day solve every problem? No. But one day could reveal something you forgot. It could reveal your power. It could remind you that you are not as stuck as you thought. It could prove that you are capable of change. And once you experience progress, even a small amount of progress, something begins to happen inside you. You start wanting more. Not more because you are never satisfied. More because you finally understand your potential. A person who experiences growth does not want to return to the old version of themselves. They begin to protect their discipline. They begin to protect their mornings. They begin to protect their peace. They begin to understand that every choice either strengthens them or weakens them. There was a lesson a wise mentor once shared with me. He said, "The direction of your life is determined by the direction of your habits. Not your wishes, not your intentions, not your dreams alone. Your habits, because your habits are what you repeatedly do when motivation disappears. And motivation will disappear. There will be mornings when you do not feel inspired. There will be days when you question yourself. There will be moments when the excitement fades. That is when discipline takes over. Motivation gets you started. Discipline keeps you moving. Motivation is an emotion. Discipline is a decision. And successful people learn to make decisions that serve their future, even when their present feelings disagree. The person who changes their life is not the person who always feels strong. It is the person who learns how to act even when they do not feel strong. Because feelings change. Circumstances change. Opinions change. But your commitment can remain. This is why small daily victories matter. Every time you wake up and do what you said you would do, you are building evidence. Evidence that you are becoming disciplined. Evidence that you can overcome old patterns. Evidence that your future is worth fighting for. And slowly, day by day, you begin creating something more valuable than success. You begin creating identity. You begin becoming the person who naturally does the things that create success. You no longer have to force yourself as much because growth becomes part of who you are. And that is where transformation becomes powerful. Because when your identity changes, your choices begin changing automatically. You start looking at time differently. You start looking at opportunities differently. You start looking at challenges differently. You start looking at yourself differently. And once a person truly sees themselves differently, they begin to make decisions that the old version of themselves would never have made. And that is the moment where a person begins to understand the true meaning of transformation. Transformation is not just changing what you do. Transformation is changing who you believe you are. Because when you see yourself as someone who is capable, you start acting differently. When you see yourself as someone who is disciplined, you stop searching for excuses. When you see yourself as someone who is responsible for your future, you stop waiting for someone else to save you. Let me tell you something. The greatest battle most people will ever fight is not against competition. It is not against the economy. It is not against circumstances. The greatest battle is the battle between the person they are today and the person they have the potential to become. There is a version of you that is stronger, a version of you that is wiser, a version of you that wakes up with purpose, a version of you that does not waste opportunities, a version of you that follows through. And every single day, you are either moving toward that person or moving away from that person, there is no standing still, because time is always moving. The question is not whether you are changing. The question is whether you are changing in the direction you truly want. Think about this for a moment. A ship in the ocean does not need a completely different ocean to reach a new destination. It needs a different direction. A small adjustment in the beginning can create a completely different destination. After thousands of miles, your life works the same way. Sometimes you do not need a new life. Sometimes you need a new direction. Sometimes you do not need more opportunities. Sometimes you need to become prepared for the opportunities already around you. Sometimes you do not need another motivational speech. Sometimes you need one decision followed by consistent action, because information without application creates no transformation. You can listen to thousands of powerful messages. You can read hundreds of books. You can collect endless knowledge. But knowledge becomes wisdom only when you apply it. A person who knows what to do but refuses to do it is still trapped. The person who takes imperfect action will always move further than the person waiting for perfect conditions. Here's what most people don't understand. You do not build confidence before taking action. You build confidence because of taking action. People often say, when I become confident, then I will start. But confidence does not arrive first. The action comes first. The small, uncomfortable steps come first. The uncomfortable conversations come first. The difficult mornings come first. The discipline comes first. Then confidence follows. Confidence is not something you find. Confidence is something you create. You create it every time you do something you thought you could not do. You create it every time you keep moving when quitting would have been easier. You create it every time you choose your future over your temporary feelings. I want you to remember something important. Your future self is watching the choices you make today. Not literally, but every decision you make is creating the person you will meet later. The person you become 5 years from now is depending on the person you are becoming today. Will your future self, thank you. Will your future self look back and say, thank you for starting when it was difficult? Or will your future self ask, why did you keep waiting? Because waiting feels safe. But waiting has a hidden cost. Every time you delay becoming who you want to become, you pay with time. And time is the one resource you can never earn back. Money can be lost and regained. Opportunities can disappear and new ones can appear. But yesterday is gone forever. That is why a powerful life begins with respecting time, respecting your mornings, respecting your attention, respecting your energy, respecting the precious opportunity of being alive. There are people who spend years saying, one day I will. One day I will start the business. One day I will get healthy. One day I will learn that skill. One day I will become confident. But one day is not a day on the calendar. One day is a place where dreams go to disappear when action never arrives. The people who create extraordinary lives understand something simple. There is only today. Today is where the work happens. Today is where the habits are built. Today is where character is formed. Today is where the future begins. You do not have to completely rebuild your life in one morning. You do not have to become a different person overnight, but you do have to begin. The smallest step in the right direction is more powerful than the biggest dream sitting untouched. A man who walks 1 mile every day will eventually travel farther than a man who only talks about traveling thousands of miles. Action creates momentum. Momentum creates belief. Belief creates more action. And this cycle can completely transform a human life. But there is another side that we must talk about, because growth is not only about adding better things. Sometimes growth is about removing the things that are destroying you. Sometimes the next level of your life requires letting go of old excuses, letting go of constant complaining, letting go of the need to be accepted by everyone, letting go of habits that steal your future, letting go of the version of yourself that keeps choosing comfort over progress. And this is difficult because humans become attached to familiar things, even things that hurt them. A person can become comfortable with chaos, comfortable with negativity, comfortable with procrastination, comfortable with saying, this is just who I am. But that statement can become a prison because who you are today is not the final version of who you can become. Your past is a chapter. It is not the entire book. Maybe you made mistakes. Maybe you wasted time. Maybe you made choices you wish you could change. But the question is not, why was I not better yesterday? The question is, what can I do today to become better tomorrow? A wise person does not spend all their energy fighting their past. They use their past as a teacher. Every mistake can become a lesson. Every failure can become feedback. Every difficult experience can become preparation. The strongest people are not people who never fall. The strongest people are people who learn how to rise. They understand that failure is not an identity. Failure is an event. You failed at something. That does not mean you are a failure. You made a mistake. That does not mean you are a mistake. You struggled. That does not mean you are defeated. The story is not finished while you are still willing to grow. I remember hearing about a person who spent years believing